I think, as we start to think about attention as a metric, we live in this crazy fragmented world where people's attention is kind of being pulled out in every direction. And ultimately, as we think about our communication planning and our strategy, it's based in what's creating a great user experience and a great consumer experience. We want to design for people and design ad experiences that make them love brands and ultimately help us win, keep, and grow clients. So the theory of attention is one that makes a lot of common sense. It's taking it to that next level and saying, how do we measure it? How do we make sure that we're finding those most attentive users, layered on top of users who we've identified as our best prospects, our newest and fastest growing customers, and then ultimately to say, okay, we measured it, we found them, we got to them. Now, did it help us drive growth? Did it create a better user experience? So I think in addition to just taking it full circle from we know it makes sense all the way to can we measure and prove it out is really critical.
So it's sort of a perfect segue to what I was going to ask you next, which is around kind of progress you're making in measuring. How do you think about measuring attention?
Yep.
And then how do you take something like attention and make it actionable out in the world?
Yeah. Well, I think how we measure attention on the front end is where we've had the most success and where we've really spent the most amount of time the last few years thinking about what TV shows, what streaming products in the video space, like where can we find the most attentive users. So working with our partners at TVision, working across kind of with many of our media owners as well to define attentive audiences. Mm-hmm. We've gotten really smart on the front end. We've built this into our planning tools. We can plan for attentive reach, so we can build a great media plan. The next piece was, could we go buy those audiences? And yes, we can, right? This was another one of those, we had to break something, we had to prove that it could work, we had to show some volume, and I think this is where our partnerships and relationships with media owners is so critical to say, we really believe in this theory, we have some advertisers who are thinking about this too, so let's go think of a new way to trade. I know we're not going to talk about it today, but in the world of measurement and currency, this is the example of measurement is one thing, tell us who the audience is. Currency is we can decide what we want to trade on. So for those advertisers who really value attention, why can't attention be a metric and a currency that we trade on? So we can now trade on attentive CPMs, which is really powerful. The next piece of this is going to be to say, hey, I found this user. Did they actually drive sales? Was that attentive person more valuable than the less attentive person? So that's the next step in the process and kind of that journey of measurement.
It feels like you actually planned it, and there's some rigor and structure behind
Yes.
this process, which is a good thing to see.
Yeah, well, I think it started as a theory, mm-hmm. which anybody could get behind, almost common sense, of course, if people are paying more attention. But we heard one of our clients talk earlier today about the idea of making a product and then all of the complexities that come with doing that. So as we started to go through this, we brought together a client council, we brought together more than a dozen media owners to invest in this space. So yeah, this is not something we've been talking about for 6 months. Dentsu's been committed to the attention economy and thinking about attention inside of media plans and consumer experiences for at least 5 years.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay. So we're going to switch gears slightly in the theme of attention, but really thinking about sort of the nature of consumers today. As we think about the future of earning attention, one of the things we know about consumers is that they have expectations of brands mm-hmm. to care and to lead with purpose. How do you do that? How can brands do that? How can agencies do that? And how can agencies support brands to be a force for good?
Well, I think the first thing is that as we think about that consumer experience and we take data in to say we want to be more addressable, we want to create these better experiences, we also have to message in that same way. We can't put one blanket message out when we know exactly who we're talking to and expect the same result. I would say that authenticity in that messaging and consistency of that messaging is what's really critical in terms of breaking through. I think the authenticity part is really critical, especially as we think about a DE&I world, a world where we're trying to support diverse media owners, where we're trying to connect better with audiences. We see the population of the US changing so rapidly, so that authentic messaging, again, we can't make one ad with one actor and say, this resonates with everybody. So it does put a lot of pressure on the brands, but the brands have to speak through the voice of the customer that they're trying to reach. So I think that if you can do that with purpose and conviction, and not that you're trying to kind of take advantage of a moment, but instead say, this is part of our brand and our brand ethos, this is what we really believe in. Customers will feel that, and I think that will have a difference.